Okay, so we understand how models work, we understand tokens. Let's explore how we can improve the quality of the code that gets generated. Now, you might think to improve the model output, we need to write better prompts. And that will certainly help, but it's kind of missing the bigger point. Working with these models is all about managing the context that you provided. You can kind of think about it like cooking. So let's say we're in the kitchen and we're making this amazing soup. You have all these inputs into the cooking process, all of these ingredients, and you're following some recipe step by step, kind of keeping track along the way, and hopefully at the end, you have a good result. Different chefs might add in different ingredients or modify it based on their own tastes, and even if you follow the recipe in the exact same way, it might taste slightly different at the end. I don't know what my mom does when she makes the soup, but it usually tastes better than when I make it. There's just that magic touch that gets added in. So just like with cooking, where you want high quality ingredients, when working with AI models, you want to give high quality context. That's the first part. The second part is that recipe, so following a list. Let's go back into Cursor and look at an example here. So we have our page in the context, and maybe we want to say something like add advanced filtering capabilities. And we're going to kick this off and send it over to the agent. Now, we want the agent to be able to follow a list and work through it step by step. So it's going to read the context that we provided, and it's going to make a to-do list, and it's going to go through and check off each item incrementally, step by step. So it's going to add some filter controls to the UI. It's going to add some state management for the filters. It's going to apply those filters to the runs, improve the sorting options. And just like at the end of cooking, you get that tasty soup that you can eat. At the end of this generated code process, hopefully we have some working software that we can run and try out. So let's talk about what makes up the model context. You have your inputs, like the messages that you send, as well as the model outputs. All of this builds up over time, kind of like a long list, where the AI model is keeping this working memory of a conversation. So at the start, kind of hidden from the user, is the system prompt. This is how the tool creator is injecting some instructions or style for the model to follow. It's just trying to help nudge the output in a specific direction and give it some instructions, which might be some rules to follow as well. And then you have the user message or prompt, which could be really any directions that you want to give the model. For example, in this case, we asked the model to add advanced filtering capabilities. This doesn't have to be just text too. We showed an example earlier where you can include images, and the underlying model can actually read the contents of that image and then include the text representation in the context. Tools like Cursor can automatically include context based on the state of your code base. So if we go back to our chat where we said add advanced filtering capabilities, you'll see that there was actually some linter errors generated by the model, and Cursor was able to take those errors and send them back to the model. Then the model can actually go ahead and just fix those automatically without you having to manually put that context in. Now, as you have more context build over time in your chat, and as you ask more questions, this all builds on top of each other and fills up the context window. So if I said in the chat, explain what these changes did, just adding another user message into this conversation, what you're going to see is when we talk to the model, it actually takes all of the previous conversation and includes that in the request. So you can think about this as that context building and building over time, which means that if you have a separate or discrete task, it's probably better to start a new chat and just clear out the context window. Because we see this 18%, we've used about 18,000 tokens here of a 200,000 token context window. So if I didn't actually need all of that previous context, we can get higher quality answers and also save on token usage by starting new chats. Your conversation with the AI model may go on for many different turns. Now, every message in that conversation, including both the inputs and the outputs, gets stored in the working memory of context. And this length grows over time, which is really important to note. Just like if you and I were having a conversation, there's only so much that you can keep in your brain at one time. As the conversation goes on, after a while, it gets harder and harder for the model to remember things that you've said. Just like if we were talking and you said something 3 hours ago, it gets hard to remember those things. That's why managing context is a very important skill to learn and master. So we've talked about how we can give the model context that we control, but what about if we want the model to dynamically retrieve context itself? That's where tool calling comes in. Let's take a look.